Okay, it's time for the part where, in my opinion, Showbie really comes alive. The way you can share and interact with all different things in your assignments. Now, I want to quickly explain how the assignment view works. At the top, you'll notice that I've got materials selected, and there's a little number 1 there as well. That's because I sent a message to my class in this assignment already, and you can see the message there in the blue speech bubble. Now, anything in the materials zone is going to be shared by default with the whole class. We can customize that, and I'll show you that later. But as a general rule of thumb, the materials area is where you want to share content with most of your class. For times when you want to interact individually with students, you can simply tap onto their name on the side. So for example, if I go onto Elliot here, you can see the message I sent earlier for the whole class. He's got that as well. But now anything I type in the box here, or any attachments that I share, are only going to go to Elliot. Equally, if Elliot sends me a message or uploads some learning, I will see it on his name here, not in the whole materials section. And that's really useful because Elliot wasn't here last lesson, so I can very quickly send him a personal message with a link to a resource that I know he'll find useful to get him up to speed for today's learning. So here I've put a YouTube link in the message, and you can see it's given a nice preview of that link already. Now when Elliot logs into his Showbie, he can see that message, find out what we did last week, and tap the video to watch that. Now I can go back to the whole materials section, and I can start planning my lesson for the whole class. On here we can send a written or typed message really easily, like I did for Elliot just now, simply by typing in that box and pressing post. I can put website links in here as well. Any resources that are like that are really quick to send. But we also have this plus button here, and there are a ton of really useful features hiding behind that button. Now, I'd love to go through every single one of these, but we might be here all day, so I'm going to choose a few of my favourites that I use the most. But don't worry about that one on the top that says assessment. I know that's really tempting. We're going to come back to that in a whole separate video later on, so do make sure you check that one out after this. Now, the first thing I want to do is to create a blank document, a resource that I can share with my learners. So I'm going to tap on to create document here. I'm going to get a few different options for what that document could look like. I want landscape, I want dotted paper, and I want dots to be about this sort of size. Then when I press create, it's going to create a brand new page for me in that assignment. Right now it's blank, there's nothing on there, but this is going to be a mind map to start my topic off. So I'm going to open up the document by simply tapping on it, and then at the very top of our screen, we can see the document editor tools built into Showbie. Here I can use pens and highlighters to add information to that page. Of course, I can zoom in to make the writing easier, and we can tap on those tools a second time to get more options like changing the colour and changing the brush thickness. Again, I'm not going to show you how all these drawing tools work. Have a little play yourself in a moment or two. You'll figure them all out nice and easily. But what I can do is I can create a learning resource right here in Showbie really quickly and really effectively. So I'm going to put a title in the middle, just simply Moon for now, and I'll put a few arrows coming off where my students can then put their own ideas and thoughts onto it later. Now, because we're working in the materials section, this is going to be sent to everyone in my class when the assignment is active, and then they can simply tap on it just like I did and use all of those tools to add their own thoughts and ideas. They're not all going to be working on the same page, because when I send it through materials, it's going to create a copy for every student in my class. They're all working on their own version of this mind map. One little tip that I'll share here is when you create that new document, it's just going to be called My Document to begin with. You can actually rename this. Simply tap and long press on the document itself, and then tap on to rename. I like to give my documents a sensible name. I find it makes it easier for my students to find what we're talking about in the class. If I say, go to the mind map about the moon, that's got a better chance of working than saying, go to my document 5, or whatever it might be. And just to reiterate one more time, if I tap onto any of my students on the left-hand side, you're going to see a copy of that document on their profile. That means that what I've sent here has gone to my whole class. Okay, let's go back to materials and we'll press the plus button again. We've got other options here. For example, scan document is a really quick way of turning a paper document into a digital version. Showbie will do a really nice scan for you, it'll crop out the background, and it'll make sure it's really easy to read by improving the contrast. And then directly beneath that, we can also import a document straight into Showbie. Maybe that's from the Files app, or Google Drive, or OneDrive, anywhere on your device. You can tap onto here, and you can use the search bar, or you can navigate to where you want to go. Now, I should mention at this point that Showbie will accept pretty much any file you can throw at it. GarageBand file? Sure. Keynote deck? Absolutely. PDF file? No problem. Video? Yeah, pop it in there. Showbie can handle all of these file types, and it will display them natively in the app. If there are files that it can't display, so a GarageBand project that wouldn't all load in Showbie, you can simply tap and open it in the native app on the device, in this case GarageBand. So whatever document you've got, you can upload it into Showbie, and your students can either view it in the browser, or if they need to, they can open it in the other apps. So here you can see I've got a Keynote file about the surface of the moon, nice image there, and I can simply upload that, and Showbie will give me a lovely preview in the assignment feed. I'm going to add a quick message for my students, they know what to do with that task, and then I can press post, and that will go out on the assignment as well. So really quickly, you can see we're building a library of content here for this particular lesson, or this topic that we're doing. Now, the next thing I want to do is to go onto one of my pupils. I'll go onto Michelle, because I want to share with her a special voice note to explain what we're doing here. So what I can do is, when I've tapped on her name, I can just press the plus button and then go onto voice note. At this point, I can simply talk into my device, and it's going to add that as an audio message just for Michelle. I could do it in the materials section for my whole class, but there's actually one student that I need to support a little bit more with this activity. So I'm going to record that voice note, and then when I'm done, I can simply post that in the conversation into that assignment, just like anything else I can share. What's really nice here is that Showbie will also do a transcript for you, so if you want, you can tap on the button here, and you can get a transcript of that message too. Your student can then press play, and they're going to hear your voice talking about the assignment. And because you've used your voice, your students will get a really personal experience when they open their assignment and they press play on that message. It feels so personal to do that, and it's so quick for us teachers to actually share that with our learners. Of course, you can do it in the whole materials section, and the whole class can get that message from you as well. Of course, there are loads of other ways we can share content into our assignments. We can tap the plus button and then use the camera, and we can photograph an art project or a DT lesson. We can add Word documents, Pages documents, all of which the students can then download, add to, and then re-upload back into Showbie when they're ready. So all of these options are there for you. And it might be worth having a little think as we're going through the rest of this video about what you can use this for in your classes. What information, what data, what documents, what projects can you share with your learners and your students using Showbie as your platform? Because I bet there's going to be some sparks of ideas that are coming through.